Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of Pod by the BAE, proudly presented by the Bay Area Examiner. I'm your host, Nathan Bond. Joined alongside me, as always, Seth Varnadore, Robert Steeg. Boys, your South Florida Bulls are 5-5 with 2 weeks left in the season after knocking off Temple 27-24 over the weekend. It was fun at times, nerve-wracking at times, downright frustrating for the majority of the second half. But a win's a win. If anybody saw Dan Campbell's post-game speech after the Lions beat the Chargers, don't let anybody make you feel bad about a win. And by golly, we're gonna do our best not to do that.
No, it was. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we can go in my reality of things. I left for Disney at the end of the first quarter, so and then I got stuck in the worst, obviously the worst by 4 track of all time. And so when we finally got to Epcot, there was 2 minutes left in the game. So in my mind, everything ended up being great because
first
we won.
Quarter was great.
The first quarter was great, and then we won. So everything else that happened in between, rewatching the highlights, I was like, "Oh, we scored a defensive touchdown. Oh, things were good for a little. We got 3 interceptions. Holy crap! What's going on?" So we'll go in my point of view on this. First quarter, great. Last 2 minutes, fantastic.
You missed a lot of butthole puckering. Because it looked like it was. I mean, Nathan and I were talking, after the first quarter, they getting the ball. Our USF has the ball, the chance to go up 24, and I'm like, man, you picked him by 24. What a call! Because it looked like Temple had nothing for them, and then they started screwing around a little bit on offense. The defense played one of their best games of the year, probably. Just in terms of being able to generate turnovers and hold a pretty decent offense in check at times. They helped you out a little bit there. But, yeah, the offense was kind of screwing around, and you're like, man, are they going to screw around and lose this game and basically miss out on a bowl when they're up 17 points on a terrible Temple team? So it got you picked the perfect timing for your trip because it got tight in there for a while. And if you were in the Discord, it was – rather tight in there as it usually is during a game thread. So
yeah. So here's where I know the game changed. All right. You get the pick 6 by Tremo Logan. Just great job by him. The very next possession, EJ Warner's picked off again by Maris Brown, who absolutely high points the crap out of the ball. It was full body extension, very impressive interception. And then I think at this point, USF head coach Alex Golish, offensive coordinator Joel Gordon, and the rest of the team thought, all right, we've got him. Let's now have some fun. Mind you, the score is 27-10. Temple had not done much of anything. So you bring in Izzy Carter, gets absolutely plastered 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. On second down, you toss it to Izzy Carter for a trick play passing attempt to Byron Brown. Great incompletion. Wasn't there. Threw it out of bounds. Great job.
I just want to say I called that 3 weeks ago, but it's
they listen.
Third down, Byron Brown fumbles. Derek Bowman falls on it. Now you're punting. You lost 16 yards. And then it just disintegrated. Basically two straight scoring drives for Temple, got them back into the game. Probably the most important thing was Temple missed the extra point. And that changed the outcome of the game. And then finally USF puts together a competent drive in the second half, which they were sorely missing for the entirety of the second half. And if you go back to last week, the offense, put up 50 points at Memphis. right before the bye week, that second half of that late third quarter, fourth quarter at UConn, very competent offensively. And then you put that up against what this offense did / did not do against this very bad Temple defense. You're like, what the hell? What happened?
Well,
it made no sense.
They were bad in the red zone, right? And then they were, what ended up being 3 field goals missed?
2, I believe.
Yeah, 2. Cannon went 2 for 4.
Yeah, so you left a lot of points on the board. And so that's why it felt, red zone success rate for USF was 24%, which is good for 18th percentile. Not great. So it really started to feel like, man, you just totally screwed around and, maybe gave this one away, but they're able to finish it off, and which was big, long third down conversion when it was really needed. But, you just felt like you left a lot of points on the board, and it was like, if this is the one you lose and takes you basically out of bowl contention, that would have been really bad. Because I thought a lot of it was like how the game was managed, not just like, oh yeah, you missed a couple of field goals, but I thought the game was not managed very well. They got a little cute. I thought they could have ran the ball a lot more. They were really successful running the ball. So this would have been one where it's like, yeah, first-year head coach kind of screwed it up a little bit in the management of the game. And that would have been a tough pill to swallow because they've been pretty good at all that stuff throughout the year. But they pulled it off, so a win's a win. They all count the same. You move one step closer to a bowl game, and you had a good performance from your defense, which if, we said before the game that you're going to win and the defense is going to cause 4 turnovers and you win by 4, you'd been like, all right, cool, whatever, that's fine. I'll take it. It was not the way I think many imagined it, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm just glad I didn't bet on the game because I would have been going really insane if I did, because Temple was very bad, and USF kind of played with its food to allow the Temple to cover. So I would have been very upset if I bet the game.
That USF -7.5 first quarter spread cashed very easily for your boy. That was one of my locks of the week. USF -7.5 first quarter against Temple. Glad that hit. That was fun to cheer about in the press box. Another thing to cheer about is Sean Atkins is now your single season all-time receptions leader after his 9-catch, 169-yard performance. If you had Sean Atkins breaking the record on your bingo card, you're lying. You're a liar. You're a liar who lies. It's been really impressive. I think I said it last week. Like, he's just good now. Like, there's no caveats to it. The guy's just good. Sure, he may run a 5.6 40, but he's still really good and can get open. And he is the reliable guy for a redshirt freshman quarterback who's still going through the growing pains of being a quarterback at the college level. So shout out to Sean Atkins, and he is dangerously close to being the first 1,000-yard receiver in program history. He's got, I believe it's 808 or 809, 808. The school record is 922. He's got, at minimum, 2 games left, at max 3. He'll fall down into 1,000 yards at this point. And this is on top of some brutal drops. He could have had easily 200 yards.
Yeah, he had at least 2 drops that were pretty bad. So that's because we kept saying, man, he could have had the record already. A couple. There's some drops going around. There was a little bit of that going around, but just kind of looking through his stats, it's funny, He's played 10 games this year, 69 receptions, 808 yards. Played 11 games last year, had 19 receptions for 238 yards. Played 11 games in 2021, had 6 receptions for 67 yards. So right now for his career, he's got 1,140 yards. So it's going to be it's going to be not funny, but interesting that if he gets to that 1,000, he'll have like 1,300 career receiving yards, and 1,000 of them will be in this 1 year. So yeah, it's good to see. And I think one of the other schools you mentioned and you kind of looked at previously was getting close, I think, to maybe also having another 1,000-yard receiver. Was it Texas State?
Texas State and not Charlotte. Maybe Charlotte. Georgia State? I think it was the States or Southern. One of the. It's still in my car. I
could be Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. Because I believe our friend Travis Trickett had a 1,000-yard receiver at Georgia State. So
that makes sense.
Friend of the blog, Travis.
Does he know that?
He's pulling. I mean, his wife was a fan of the Travis Trickett down the field. I go right.
She loved that. Yeah. Looking at it wrong. Yeah, Georgia Southern has a guy that's at just a hair under 800 yards, 80 receptions this year. My God,
they're throwing it around now.
Yeah.
And then Texas State, obviously, J.G. Kinney. He talk about throwing the ball around. He's going to sling that thing.
It gets tossed around a few times.
So I want to. In my mind on Saturday, I was kind of thinking about, all right, sure, this is all well and good, but in the context of like how the offense is he a good stats, bad team kind of guy like in the NBA where if someone's got to score 20 points on a team, like even bad teams have 20-point scores. Is he just that kind of? Is that just what he is? And I was kind of looking at the 2001 USF football team, which was Marquell Blackwell's. He was quarterback. He's got the program record for attempts, and he attempted, I think it was like 456 passes. And then there were 4 other guys who also attempted passes that season. So USF on a per play average in 2001 was averaging 75 plays a game. USF this season averaging about 80 plays a game. So it's not like even 22 years later, it's still pretty impressive. Marquell Blackwell, 456 attempts, 2,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, and Huey Whitaker had 52 catches. Like he spread it around. Like 4 guys had at least 25 receptions. They just spread the ball around. That's just kind of what they did. So in the grand scheme of things, I guess what I'm getting at is, I guess if it's just in the run of the offense is not too dissimilar to what the Bulls kind of ran in 2001, which was a pretty advanced offense for its day in 2001.
Yeah, and I kind of go back and look at Tennessee in 2021, their first year there. They had a receiver catch 64 for over 1,000 and 12 touchdowns, and then another guy catch 62 for 807, 7 touchdowns. And then their third leading receiver had 21 receptions. That was Jalen Hyatt. So I think it's somewhat built in a little bit, but you still got to go out and do it. So
right. And I think to Sean's credit, I mean, you heard Golch talk about it the entire year of how hard he worked, how much effort he was putting in. He kind of mentioned if I had 11 Sean Atkins on offense, it'd be fantastic as far as work ethic goes. And I'm not sure what the snap breakdown is per play itself, but it seemed like up until this week, it was basically Sean Atkins in the slot and then some sort of combination of Joffrey Brown, Naeem Simmons, Alexis, Weston Wolf. Like they were substituting basically every other ZY and tight end and then keeping Sean in the slot the entire time. Golish kind of said it this week during his press conference. Like Sean's the best thing that's happened to Sean is Naeem Simmons started to play slot receiver. So now Sean doesn't have to play 80 snaps on offense. They can substitute him out, get him a breather, get him a rest, water, get him something on a hot day like that. So I think it was more or less the product of, I mean, the dude was just always on the field. And for Byron Brown, was always on the field. You knew the type of cadence he runs at. You knew he was going to be open on a crosser. You knew he was going to be, working a post. Like it came to be because of the volume that he was on the field, it felt like, which is testament to how hard he works. So it's not like it's a negative thing. But I think once, the talent level may increase, or the gelling might happen a little bit more with some of the other receivers, there might be more opportunity for someone else to start stepping up again, to Naeem Simmons, Jane Alexis, Shofford Browns, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, I love it. Sean's legit. Like, he's legitimately a really good wide receiver. And it's no longer, he's a walk-on. Like, no, he's like, this is a full-on Division I wide receiver that could have probably made a big impact elsewhere too.
Yeah, so Sean Atkins has played 82% of the snaps this season. Next closest receiver is Naeem Simmons at 67 or almost 68%. So, yeah, he's been able to see the field. I think because, he's super consistent. A couple drops last week notwithstanding, he's been pretty consistent. I think he's probably consistent in understanding, like, where he needs to be as well, and that's why Byram trusts him so much, because this offense you do have to read a little bit. He's also a really good route runner in terms of understanding leverage and space. You'll see him sometimes. If you just watch how he releases off the line at times, he'll get other guys open just because of the way I'll release outside a little bit, move the safety, and now the outside guy gets open on a post or like a deep slant. So I think he understands all this stuff. I have no clue how fast he is. We're pretty sure he's not very big, but he understands how to play, and he really understands leverage and is super dependable. And if you have guys like that, like Golish was kind of talking about, I think it was last week, just who's consistent, who can I depend on, who do I not have to worry about their effort, who can I kind of just, I know what I'm going to get from him. And I think he's probably a guy like that that's, got the skill. He's got the work ethic. You understand exactly what you're going to get from him every week. And, that's all you want as a coach, a guy that can make the plays and a guy you can depend on. So.
Man, this is going to be such a mean transition. I'm so sorry. Someone you can no longer depend on. Lloyd Summerall, no longer with the program.
Jesus, Nate.
Shout out to I know.
Have mercy.
Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. And, I apologize for it up front. So it was like, with all due respect, so I can say anything. No, them's the rules. All joking aside, Lloyd Summerall no longer with the program. Shout out to Live Oak for picking that up on Monday. Reached out to USF. Obviously, he's no longer with the program. Very short and sweet from Golish on Tuesday's press conference. Yeah, he's no longer with the team at this point. He said at this point. I will say he said at this point.
Yeah.
So that little end of his statement may say a lot, may not, and just kind of what he wants to say. But saying at this point kind of gives at least a little bit of wiggle room. And he just left it at that. So a guy who 2 weeks ago at Memphis played 34 snaps and was one of the top 4 defensive linemen, defensive edge rushers in snaps. I think he had 305 snaps on defense, and that's with missing a game, and was still 4th on the team in snaps, or just thereabouts.
Yeah, he was 4th of the defensive front guys in snaps, 1st at his position, that outside backer position, by a decent margin. And that's even with factoring in the missed games. He's still got like 40 more snaps than DJ Harris. It's almost like a full game worth, even with missing another game. So, or he's missed 2 games now. So, he had the lead. He was the leader at that position by a good margin, and that position is one that Jason Vaughn got hurt. They moved Brian Norris over. You see in pregame they got 3 guys warming up. We're like, oh, okay, this is everybody, and now he's gone. So now there's 2. Is somebody getting elevated? I don't know.
Yep. And with DJ Harris, now slotting in, he got a lot more run. Jonathan Ross got a lot more run. So we'll see what all that kind of shakes out. But something to keep an eye on as we get toward the end of the season. And obviously, as we gear up toward the end of the season, with the portal opening on December 4th, we are going to see a lot of guys between now and December 4th announce that they are portaling. So just be mindful and ready for that. There's a lot of upperclassmen on this defensive side of the ball that even with eligibility left, there could be those. So what are you doing next year? Conversations coming up. So, the portal train never stops. It just slows down for a little bit. And the thing that I'm kind of surprised about is it's taken this long for someone to either leave, get booted, portal from this roster so far, that you usually see, especially towards November, where your red shirtness is starting to be questioned if you want to save it or not. You see guys start leaving earlier and earlier, much like you see head coaches getting fired earlier and earlier. And man, Black Sunday comes for everybody, and it certainly came for a lot of teams this past weekend. But with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up. We've got a really cool interview lined up for the Ponderosa, so make sure you subscribe, like. We'll do the in-depth interview with UTSA. We'll do some advanced stats. We'll also have the Black Boy Roundtable this week. Depending on when this releases, you may have already heard it or may not have. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all of the things that we need to do. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.